Blink is a workflow automation platform designed to make building, collaborating, and scaling all things security quick and easy. Blink enables the creation of security automations via natural language prompts so that even non-technical security professionals can get immediate time to value. So let's see this in action. To start, we're going to click New Workflow, and here's where you will input that natural language prompt. So in this scenario, we're going to say on a new alert from Microsoft Sentinel. If the alert is critical, we may want to isolate the machine using CrowdStrike. We may want to suspend the user account using Okta. We may want to open a new ticket using ServiceNow. And lastly, we may want to notify the SOC team that this is happening using Microsoft Teams. So when I click Generate Workflow here, our Copilot's going to pull from over 30,000 built-in no-code actions, which are API endpoints. And we're also fully vendor agnostic. So those 30,000 API endpoints are spread across over 400 different IT and security vendors. At this moment, you'll see a preview of what the Copilot built, and we have the opportunity to adjust our prompt and regenerate the workflow as needed. But I'm happy with what's on the right here, so I'll click Create. So digging into this a little bit, you can see that we have an event-based trigger that is looking, so essentially a push event from Microsoft Sentinel. So on a new incident from Microsoft Sentinel, the first step in the workflow is evaluating if the alert is critical. So we're evaluating a severity field within the input payload. And if that value it contains is critical, then we're going to follow the yes branch of the if statement. So to start, you can see that the Copilot worked and pulled the actual no-code API endpoint, and it tries to map what it expects the input payload to require for the input of the action itself. So running down for it, the first step is obviously isolating the device using CrowdStrike, suspending the user via Okta, creating that ticket with ServiceNow, and then lastly, sending that notification to the security team. So it took what I said via a natural language prompt and actually implemented it in terms of a BlinkOps workflow. The next steps here to get this to a production stance would be to update the fields that are required. So things like your channel ID and your team ID. And then to also add in your connections. Think of your connections as your reusable authentication methods. So once you define your connection, then you can reuse them in all the workflows that you build with them. Now, a workflow like this is very impactful to an end user. Not often is an alert consistently high fidelity enough to warrant the response that impacts the user in this way. So to get around this, maybe we want to add in a human in the loop approval. What that looks like is adding a new step, and we can look for ask a question, and we can select ask a question via Teams here. We can then specify who we want to answer this question. In this case, it would be your SOC team, but for the demo purpose, I'll just put in my email. We could say the question, which maybe it is, do you want BlinkOps to respond to this critical Sentinel incident? Now, the possible answers are yes or no. And then how we build the rest of this is just to add in a simple if statement. So we're going to say if the output of our ask a question step equals yes, then we want to perform all our response actions as we've previously listed. All right. And so what this looks like on the team side is that once I fill in my connection, of course, and I click play, it will send the question and it will set this step into a pending state. So this workflow execution is currently paused while we wait for the input to come back. So none of the previous or nested steps underneath will run until we get that output. So if I jump over to Teams, you can see, do you want to BlinkOps to respond to this critical Sentinel incident? I'll click yes. You can see the step moved to a completed status. Now it's yes. And if we check our if statement, you can see now the condition is true, so the steps underneath it would run. You can see how in just a matter of minutes, we utilized our natural language prompt via our AI Copilot to build out the first initial bare bones of a workflow. We then quickly altered that workflow to include a human in the loop approval. This ensures that BlinkOps is only responding to things that are truly validated and warrant the level of impact they're about to cause. This also allows security teams to respond to security incidents in a very standardized, templated, and scalable method. Now, to get this workflow in a production state, we would input the rest of those connections and then just publish and activate in the top right corner. If this interests you and you want to learn more, please visit us at blinkups.com.